Monk, we are back with another episode of Classics of Cinematics. And I'm joined as always with my co-host, Bobby Blockbuster.
Yo, yo, yo!
Yeah, folks, so today we got an interesting film. This one comes out of the summer of 1997. It's a film directed by James Mangold, and we're going to be talking about Copland. And in this film, hothead Superboy accidentally gets involved in an ugly, racially motivated incident. His uncle Ray, a corrupt New York City cop, attempts to sweep it under the rug by helping fake his nephew's death. The bungled cover-up leads to investigations by idealistic internal affairs officer Moe Tilden and Freddy Heflin, sheriff of the suburban New Jersey town where Donlan and his fellow crooked police live. You know,
there we
it's
go.
kind of funny that Crooked Officer by Scarface wasn't on this soundtrack.
I know,
that's,
right?
that's essentially what this film is about. You know, it is a story of police corruption. And interestingly enough, this film is stacked when we get into the cast. And it makes me wonder why this thing flew so far under the radar. But our main people, just to get out, there's tons of people, so we're going to get into them later. But our main people here, we got Sylvester Stallone as Freddy Heflin. We got Michael Rapaport as Murray Babbage, who is the Superboy who gets caught up in this incident. We've also got Harvey Keitel, who's Ray Donlan, and Robert De Niro plays Moe Tilden in this. And also Ray Liotta has a big role in this as Gary Figgis. And we've got everyone you could think of under the sun from a lot of my films, as well as a lot of surprises. But as I said before, this film is about police corruption. And I think it's a cool setup because we have this town where most of these officers live outside of New York City, but they work in New York City. And because there's so many police there, they've essentially set up a mob-like hierarchy in this town where they're out here doing a little bit of dirt and running this town to the point where they've got a standing officer here played by Stallone, Freddy Heflin, as the sheriff, a guy that, you know, he's the sheriff of this town, but he has no authority, no power. They keep him on the outside, you know, not knowing what's going on. And he was a guy that essentially tried to be an officer, but he never qualified to be a city cop because of his hearing impairment.
Impairment. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, what I appreciate most about this film is the different approach to the hero cop element, where we get, you know, different divisions of law enforcement being pitted against each other. And, you know, and I thought it was really cool for them to kind of have this policing, you know what I'm saying, situation going on. Like, you know, with Stallone playing this, like, looked over, local sheriff of this pocket town, and you know where the cops are essentially running things, and they are the crime element.
Yeah, it's really cool because honestly, I think this film did for Stallone in a way what Pulp Fiction did for Travolta. Kind of brought him back into the spotlight. Like, yeah, this guy's still a capable guy. You know, he's kind of became a joke over the years with the action films kind of tapering off. And, you know, the Rocky, that's all he could do. But I think this is cool. It shows that he still has, you know, some good chops, and you give him the right story and the right, you know, tools to work with. But it's wild because, you know, these guys treat him like dirt. It's so wild watching it go down. And he plays this role so understatedly and helps, you know, grab some humanity to this character.
He does. He wears it well. He wears it well, you know, when it comes to playing this role, you know what I'm saying, for what they want to get out of the story, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and they keep him on the outskirts, you know, but essentially what ends up happening, one of these guys, their son, you know, gets caught up in an incident. It's a traffic incident. Some kids are on the highway, you know, messing around. And they actually sideswipe him. I don't know what's going on. Maybe they were joyriding, maybe they were drunk or whatever. And it appears to them, he drives up to the window like, yo, what's going on? He's in plain clothes though. You know, he's acting as police, and he's, you know what I'm saying? He confronts them, and one of them pulls out something. In his eyes, it's a gun, but really it's a club that you see in the car. You know what I'm saying?
Steering wheel lock.
So he just like, you know, really loses everything and just opens fire on the highway. Yeah. You know, these guys doesn't call anyone.
No, he dumps the whole clip. Dumps the whole clip on him.
Ends up killing these guys, causing a wreck. So, you know, of course, none of the authorities come. And this scene is interesting when we see them, like, what I'm going to do. And he's like, oh, it's over for me. It's over for me. And his uncle apparently, it's not bad enough. I think the relation is the biggest problem here because, you know, then it's going to look like, well, your nephew was out here wilding. You know what I'm saying? That's going to look bad for your political chances and all this. You're going to have a lot of heat on your back.
Right.
So they try to cover it up, make it look like, you know, these guys pulled a gun, you know, planting evidence. It is crazy. This is the wild part to me, though, that gets a little unbelievable, but also maybe it is believable because people do stupid things. And the stupid thing for me in this film is to have Superboy, played by Michael Rapaport, fake his death.
Yeah.
Like, apparently he jumps off the bridge as they're doing this investigation. And it is crazy, man. The whole set, I was like, yo, this is so dumb of a plot, you know, to a scheme to try to pull. But yeah, so essentially, I love how De Niro's character comes around just to get the story out of the way. And he's Internal Affairs, and he knows he's kind of been on these guys for a while. He's like, yo, these guys do really wild work, so I want to make sure this thing is on the up and up and goes down like it does. And interestingly enough, he approaches Stallone's Freddy and tells him, and Freddy's a little apprehensive. He's like, yo, these guys already don't mess with me. And if they see me talking to you, that's just even going to, you know, further erode my relationship with in this town. But eventually, you know, they get to chopping it up, and he sees some things that make him like, all right, man, this guy was right. This ain't on the up and up. And it kind of goes from there, man. It leads into, you know, Freddy taking it upon himself, even as a sheriff, even with the force, surrounded by guys that don't mess with him, trying to solve this case and get to the bottom of it. You know? And that's essentially what the story of Copland, you know, is. You know?
Yeah, and you know, and the one thing though for me, like when it comes to the story, I like it feels like there's a lot of movie in a condensed amount of time, which that is a good thing, but it does kind of create a little bit of unbalance where, you know, when we get the core of the story with this policing this small town situation, that's cool. But where I feel like the story really starts to excel is the independent sub stories that happen with each of the characters. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's a lot of subplots, man.
And I feel like if in a different light with the same the same cast and everything, if this would have been a TV series, I think it probably would have did better with the masses.
Could have, but also look at your subject matter, dog. You're showing, and I think those sub stories help to show the human nature of these guys. But also look what this movie is about. It's showing the humanity in these guys, and humanity. People think it's all about, you know, empathy and heart, but no. Sometimes humanity is vile. Greed,
the world needs
corruption,
more of that.
And I think this film was probably not going to be getting a big push because it's showing that, you know, that sometimes, you know, these police, these guys that are, you know, meant to serve and protect, can be human and be human in all the negative ways. Yeah, and it shows as well how they act, you know, to keep that away from the public, and that's what essentially what this story is about. They're trying to keep this stuff from getting out before people see the corruption in them and the evil in their hearts of what all this stuff is going on.
They are the criminal element.
But interesting enough, before we get into these characters, there was a director's cut. I haven't seen it, but I did look up about it, and it's missing about 16 minutes of footage, and most of it does revolve around some of these smaller, minor interactions, and they say it does help kind of increase the flow of this story, make it flow a little better, and you know, make the plot more cohesive, even though I think this worked for me, you know what I'm saying? When I initially saw it, like I remember having really good high praise of this film, and even now when rewatching it, but the director's cut is out there, you know. But let's get into these characters, man, this cast, man. So what do you think about Stallone's Frank in this thing?
I liked it. I thought that, you know, for him to kind of tone it down a little bit, still, you know, Stallone always thrives in the underdog role. I feel like, you know, this one just presented him in a different likeness, you know, and he took the extra steps necessary by gaining an extra 40 pounds to kind of look like the part. Not to say that if you're a local sheriff, you're supposed to be overweight or anything, but he dove into the character to present himself like as more like subdued and just almost like a pushover, you know what I'm saying? And he presents that well, and you know, with that like dim-wittedness that comes with, you know, just the way he presents his characters, it all works, you know what I mean? And I like that he's still kind of he's got that fire in his belly. Like, even though everything around him doesn't seem to be going right, he still finds a reason to do his job and try and excel at it. You know what I'm saying? With limited resources and pretty much essentially the world against him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's crazy because his hands are tied. He's put out of here to keep him out of the way, and they got this guy in here because he has no ties to the bigger force. So they're not going to be beholden to him. You know, he's not really a real cop like they are. So yeah. Even that scene, I thought it was cool, man. Interestingly enough, when we meet Ray Liotta's character, Gary Figgis, who ends up helping him a bit, toward the end of this. But in the very beginning, it seems like he's the only one that is actually has a bit of respect for this guy.
Yeah.
He's not like following his order, but he recognizes this guy's rank. He checks on him. Yo, Chief, are you all right? That scene was kind of weird too, where he puts him in the car. Yeah. And I was like, yo, my man clearly can't be driving. But he's like, you okay? And I was like, yo, he don't look okay. But still, just to go through that part where everyone else is looking at him, watching what they say around him, and you know what I'm saying? Just ostracize him, even poking fun at him, his position.
What I like too about that relationship is that even though Ray Liotta's character befriended, what's his name? Heflin, Stallone. He's the one cop that nobody else in the precinct respects either, because he's on slippery ice as well, because he's, I guess he had some evidence come up missing because he played with his nose too much. So, you know what I'm saying? So the other cops don't respect him, nor do they respect the local sheriff. So it's kind of like the stars align for them to become friends. But, as they team up, Figs, he's the one who actually steers Stallone on the right path to be able to take the
because he was one of them at one point. He was on the inside. He knows how they're doing things.
He's still doing things too. He just moving in a different light.
They got him on a minor tier. He's still with but they've got him but he knows enough to know like, yo, you should look this way.
You know what I'm saying? And not for nothing, Ray Liotta, I've seen him in a few
I thought he was good in this, man.
He plays that,
I thought he was really good in this.
That doped up cop pretty well. I've seen him do that in a few different movies, or like that, just bending the law.
What was the one? Narc. He was in Narc. He was great in Narc, man.
He's in, what was it? Was it Sleeping with the Enemy? No, not Sleeping with the Enemy. What's the other one? It's him and Kurt Russell. Man, he becomes a stalker cop. Oh, Unlawful Entry. You know what I'm saying? And he's off the chain in that one. But and that's the thing. So he does well with his character. But Harvey Keitel as Ray, Donlan?
Yeah, he's great, man.
He is awesome in this. He is like the front runner, center stage, and he presents Dirty Cop so well. Like what you're seeing in this, it kind of reminded me a lot of the role he played in Bad Lieutenant. It was just a little more toned down. Whereas this one, he's moving through this town like a mob boss. Like this, he is the constructor of the organized crime.
He definitely is, dude.
And even
he definitely is one.
When you kind of see him, you see him a brief spot check when he's actually badged up and supposed to be performing his job, and he's still not doing that to the best of his ability. He's still trying to skirt the line and make some other things happen.
Show me what was the scene where we got Janine Garofalo. She's a new deputy in the sheriff's office now, and she pulls him over, and the way he's acting toward her, he's like, "Yo, you know who I am?" kind of a thing. Like you know what I'm saying? You're like if you see a DA, you're supposed to act this way, and it's so wild. And I think that's a cool scene because she's pissed off, and he also kind of makes a little sexist remark toward her, and then you see Freddy come up, and he's like, "Hey, chill out, I got this. She doesn't know. She's in the," and she's like, "Yo, why are you?" letting these guys. Yeah, why are you catering to that? And honestly, I get it too, because he's kind of like, well, I gotta live here. Gotta. But I stay here, and she's like, yo, I don't want to be part of any of this, toward it's like, yo, I want out of this. Transfer me the fuck out of here.
Yeah, and then, shout out Robert Patrick too. I think that he did a good job as the enforcer, and I like that he was wearing his, rocking the I love my job too much because I'm a cop mustache. There's that straight trooper stash. He definitely, he fit the part, he looked the part, he fit the part.
Yeah, I would say he's Ray's right-hand man.
He's his grunt. He's an enforcer. He's the one that when it was time to plant the dirty gun, he did that. When it was time to try to take Superboy out, he did that. So he's his flunky, you know what I'm saying? His go-to guy.
But like I said, it goes back to around like I love it. These guys are controlling the town, but they're also stupid in a way. Like the idea to, just jump off the bridge. We're gonna act like you jump to your death.
Then you know what I'm saying?
Then you gotta hide. You know what I'm saying?
A funeral, then
which
we're gonna
is
throw
crazy.
a party right
which is
after your
crazy.
funeral.
So yeah, and this guy's clearly supposed to be dead, but he's all over this town in a party. Lucky cell phones wasn't around. Someone would have definitely been like, "Yo, I'm in a party, yeah."
Yeah, exactly.
But then they decide to tell him, "Yo, we're gonna like send you to Mexico or some shit like that. We got your passport and all that." Really trying to set him up to kill him. And that gets crazy, man. Like you know, that goes wrong because they can't do nothing right. But then the corruption to show how far it goes, how much people are in on it.
And then, outside of, our heavy hitters, we got a laundry list of like spot checks, starting with Robert De Niro as the IA officer. I would have liked
he's great, bro. I love
a little more of him in this because
I love him as Moe Tilden.
Because his character was so prominent and so forceful. Like he was De Niro through and through. Like he was imposing his will. Like there's times when he goes into the interrogation room, as soon as they start talking that nonsense, he's like, "Shut up, just shut up. This is what's going on. We know this, we know that." He's holding everybody accountable. He's like, "Man, I'm not no fool. I know what's going on." So when he encounters the crooked cops, he leans on them. And then when he comes to Freddy, the local sheriff, asking him for his help, he's like, "Look, this is what's going on. I know you might not be up to speed with everything, but you got a hunch. Go with your hunch. I'm telling you, I'm gonna back you." But then when Freddy finally comes to his senses and wants to walk into his office, he's like, "Man, the case is closed now. We ain't had no evidence. You dropped the ball. So, go look sad and cry on somebody else.
We got to go with what they gave us.
Like, if you would have manned up when I came to you, then we could have got this done."
But my favorite part, I can't remember who says that. I don't know if it's Robert Patrick's Jack or Ray. And they talk to De Niro and he walks away and he's like, "Fucking rat." And I'm like, that's not the definition of a rat. Yeah. Like he's not one of y'all. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, but it's funny to me just their mentality of it. I'm like, yo, you guys are doing bad. This is cops and robbers 101. Yeah. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Like, and then, what do you expect?
And then, like I said, you get a laundry list of cameos. Like you get Tony Cicero, who when he's in anything, he represents the mob element, organized crime.
So he can't help it. He look guilty.
That's his way. And then shout out Malik Yoba, and he plays a cop in this. Why? Because New York Undercover. So that kind of rolled right in line with everything. And then you got Method Man beating up Peter Berg and tossing him off the building.
Peter Berg. So many people in this. Kathy Moriarty. Like I think her face has more recognition than her name, at least for me. But she plays roles in this. The one with the note on the drink.
Edie Falco. Shout out Nurse Jackie. She's the bomb squad. Sliding Ray Liotta the stuff that he needs to blow up his house.
Yeah, we got so many people. John Ventimiglia, he's also in this. Shout out to Paul Calderon. You will recognize him from King of New York, but he's also the EMT that doesn't appreciate them trying to hide the gun in the car.
Yeah, and then you also got Richard John Burke, who plays just a super dirty cop, and then Geraldo Rivera. I don't know if people remember him.
Geraldo.
And they just had to give him a credit because somebody was watching his show in the movie. So it's nice to get spot checks like that.
There's so many people in this film from that early 90s wave, man. It's just crazy, dude. The amount, of characters in this. Like, this thing is so stacked. I'm surprised it got made. But then again, a lot of these people, would go on to be super bigger, you know what I'm saying? But at this time, the biggest names were probably, De Niro, Liotta, especially coming off of Goodfellas. Keitel,
Because like you said, Stallone was trying to resurge his career because this came shortly after he was getting bagged on for making those comedy movies like Oscar or Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. So he actually was quoted to say that he felt that this film had a negative impact on his career making future films. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because I don't know.
I was like,
I think this was actually great.
This one, it actually.
It wasn't. For what it did, I guess the cost involved, it did, pretty good.
It came in on a $15 million budget and it pulled in 63.7 mil. So it didn't take an L, but I think that they were expecting MCU numbers off this because of.
I can see that too. With the
I understand. It's a full bowl roster, but like you said, with the story arc being the way it is and the subject matter, and like I said, they're trying to fit a lot of pegs into a lot.
But think about it. When has a story like this been super big? Been a blockbuster, like a story about corrupt police? Nah. And you could go back to even Serpico, which is critically acclaimed, but that film never made a lot of money, and I think there's reasons, man. I think once you start, pointing the light at the system and some of the systems within the system, and you show that like that's not very popular, that's not going to get pushed in mainstream media a lot,
because to the masses we're predisposed to think that criminals represent the crime element. Yeah, that's the narrative that they want us to move with, and that they want us to think. So when you paint cops in this light, even though we all know that this stuff happens, you know what I'm saying, but for them to show us how it's done, and also show that they have no moral compass, their conscience is clean, they're doing this stuff, and then they go home and they sleep real good at night, and they'll do it again tomorrow. So that's the thing. And, and for them to kind of present this, like, even the hero that saves the day he's so unsuspecting. It's like, you almost got to be like dimwit or just not with the shits to be able to catch up to this stuff. You know what I mean? It's just...
It's real interesting, man. But also thinks, when you look at where this thing takes place, and this is in a suburb of New York City, across the river, Garrison, New Jersey. Yeah. And honestly, there are a lot of places like that, man. And I think one of the commentaries of the, past few years is the fact that, you have a lot of police working in areas that they don't live in, and essentially they tend to feel like an occupying force. And we've got a lot of cases of this, you got a lot of officers that may live out in Montgomery County, but they work in DC, or they might live out in PG, but they work in DC. Or I've even seen it so bad as cops living in Pennsylvania and driving to work in downtown DC, making that commute to work. And it's kind of weird because you do get this sense that you're an occupying force. You don't know the community. You may be even a person that's fearful of the community that you got to go into every night to police.
And that's what I like about this, is because they establish this setting and how they make it all make sense right off rip by saying that when you're a New York City cop, you have to live in New York City. Yeah. And the way that they were able to skirt the line is because Metro Transit is also, it's widespread with New Jersey, and I want to say another state right next to it.
There was an exception for it.
So they were able to do part-time work as transit cops, you know what I'm saying, or overtime work as transit cops to get that leeway to then create their own little town.
But you also have instances where, like, even though Staten Island is considered New York City, you have a lot of officers that live there. That is essentially is also another kind of Copland. I don't know. I'm not going to get into the corruption of it. I don't know anything about that, but I do know you have that case too where, even though that is a New York City borough, a lot of people think that it's not quite, but you do have a lot of officers working, downtown. They work Manhattan. They might work Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, but they live out in the suburb of, either, Queens, or I don't know how New York's structured. Like you say, you have to, live in New York City. Yeah. But it's also kind of the same kind of thing. You're not policing a neighborhood that you grew up in or that like that. You know what I'm saying? And that's a problem too with modern policing is all done in the car even now. Even out here, I've never seen an officer walking around the neighborhood, getting to know people. And they've got plenty of idle time. You'll see them just sitting on the side sometimes. And I'm like, yo, why don't you just get out the car? Like if something's going on.
A lot of the traffic cameras is doing jobs they used to do now.
Well, no, that's the problem now. They become revenue agents. Like we don't want you walking around getting to know your community. We want you in this car writing tickets, generating revenue for the county. You know what I'm saying?
They're supposed to impose fear.
Yeah, which is interestingly enough, because instead of getting roots in the community, getting to the point where people will call you for something, it becomes the opposite. You feel like like damn. Every time I see a cop, they write me a ticket.
Yeah, it's like in a negative light.
I don't want to call them.
The stuff that happens.
I don't want to call them.
Like I said, when they're not putting in the extra effort to kind of humanize themselves, and then there's this underlying fear factor, and then you see the stuff that you see, what's going on with the corruption and stuff, or the little YouTube videos and the people getting the injustices that happen on a regular basis. It's kind of hard not to think otherwise.
I think setting it up like this definitely helps ground this film and gives it a little bit more bite. And
there was a disclaimer at some point where they said that this is not like based on actual events, but is it really? Is it really not?
I mean, that's a legal thing because you don't want to connect it to a particular case or people.
Well, especially when you're using real locations, real set pieces that really exist.
Put it this way, man. There are Coplands all over, and I'm not I'm not going to jump to the extra degree of saying there's cop lands where there's mob and like in this film, but there are lands, like I said, places where police live. You know what I'm saying? They
click up.
They take their salary that they get from working the job in urban environments and bring that money back to the suburbs and live there with their families and stuff. The biggest thing that I think this film represents, people are people. And that doesn't stop depending on your title, whether you're a politician or you're a, policeman or even a fire department. You're all susceptible to human wants, desires, and corruption.
It's also funny because we keep talking about this mob element and everything. And they said a large portion of this cast did start to trickle over and were key members in The Sopranos, which also took place in New Jersey, focused on the mob. So, this movie definitely helped a lot of guys got looks on this. Careers,
a lot of guys got some good work out of this, man. And and there were guys that were already working before this. Like, you look at our guy Paul Calderone. So I think it's cool for this cast. Whoever cast this did a crazy job. They did an amazing job, man. And I appreciate that. Just seeing the people that they went to, you know what I'm saying? And these aren't no slouch people. All of these people, most of the people we've named have really good
track records.
Yeah. They really got good, film credits before this, and help make this thing, what it is, So I think that's cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely enjoyed my rewatches this week. This one, like I said, it does have a lot of layers. You peel back those layers, and I feel like the subplots are just as interesting as the core plot, and that's what kind of pushes this thing along. It is about an hour and 45 minutes, but it plays fast. And I mean, like I said, there's a lot of moving parts, but it's easy to keep up with. Definitely entertaining.
Yeah, definitely a good one, man. But we're going to be back soon, man. Make sure you check us out on the next Classes of Cinematics, man. We got more in store for you. Going to be back soon. Make sure you check out the social media. We've got Classes of Cinematics on Instagram. And we're also on TikTok. You can catch me at Monkey Blood on Twitter and Instagram.
And it's Bobby Blockbuster. You can catch me on the next show.
Peace.